Everybody, Venom TTV back with another video that was requested by people from the channel. This video is geared around OBS settings and optimizing your OBS performance in an effort to improve your stream quality. So we'll kind of walk through a little bit around how can you identify what the issues are with your stream. Ultimately, how can you address to which issue is causing the most degradation in your stream performance, and then also talk about what do those codes mean. And then ultimately, how do we resolve the issues once we identify what they are? Awesome. So here we are. We're looking at our OBS settings. Now, I've already kind of set up a little bit of the things we're going to talk about here. But most notably, some of the things that you'll notice, or the first thing I'll introduce everybody to is obviously all of the screens at the bottom, right? So you have your controls, your Twitch stats, audio mixer. Everything here is 100% controlled by you as the user. You just right click on that top tab and you can check in and check out whatever it is that you want. You can also move it around the screen. Where do you want to place it in terms of value for yourself? The one that we really want to focus on here today is their stats page here at the top. So it's the same thing. You click on the header, check in, check out stats, right? So I'll check it out. I'll check it back in. Stats is where you're going to be able to identify where your issues are stemming from. Right, and it's going to allow you to really figure out which piece of the pie is causing the most degradation for you, right? And there's three things that we're going to look at. First is drop frames due to network. There's skip frames due to encoding lag, and then frames missed due to rendering lag. All three of these play a piece in your streaming quality and the output for the user. And just to give a rundown, I'll walk through what each three of these mean. Drop frames due to the network is pretty self-explanatory. It's really just frames lost due to poor quality of your internet connection. So one thing that I like to do before I started streaming, and I'll do this every now and then just from a maintenance perspective to ensure how my internet is running, is I'll go to streamtest.xfinity.com and I'll kind of share that screen with you here now. So this is the speed test results here. And so really what we're looking at is how did my internet test scale out for me so I can understand what I can stream and at what quality. So I can see here I can stream HD videos, stream 4K videos, I get speedy downloads. Realistically, my internet speed is actually very promising when it comes to wanting to stream and stream in high quality. Now, if you realize that you're having drop frames due to network settings and your internet quality isn't the best, one thing that I would ensure is what is the proximity to your Wi-Fi cable box? Right, if you're running off of Wi-Fi, like how close are you to it? What's the obstructions between you and that box? But the bigger thing is, can you hardwire an Ethernet cable from your system into your Wi-Fi box? Having a hardwired system is going to be a lot more valuable for your stream. It's going to it's going to give you a better performance for your stream overall. This leads us into the last two things, which is really what I want to focus on, which is your encoding and your rendering. Your encoding and your rendering, you can really look at it as two different things, right? The first thing is really your encoding is how do we take the stream as it exists today? How do we box that up and then ultimately transmit that to the user, right? And then your rendering is how do I take that box and then unpackaging it into my stream platform so it shows what is eventually going to go in front of you as the viewer. And so those two things is really about the input-output of your stream. And we're going to kind of walk through in more detail how to triage those and some of the common resolutions for them. Here, I've turned off my camera. The first thing we're going to do here is we're going to click on Settings. And we're going to go down to Advanced. And what we're going to do here is in Advanced, you're going to see you got this Process Priority. And you got 5 different toggles, right? Anywhere from idle all the way to high, right? And then kind of a different drop-off points in between. So it normally will preset itself to normal, which means this program is going to run at the same hierarchy or tier level as any other program on your computer. So if you're starting to see issues that are related to encoding, one thing that I recommend is going to above normal and setting your OBS to be at a higher priority level than your other programs. So this way, as your CPU is trying to identify what do I take care of first when you have multiple things running, it's going to go to OBS each time and say, I need to take care of OBS requests before I move on to the next request that I have in my queue. And so this will help from an encoding perspective because you're not waiting for the PC to catch up with you. It should be running above the other programs and really running in line with what you need to have done for your computer. The second thing we'll talk about is we'll go into our output page. And so within our output, everything in this output mode will actually come across to you as normal or simple. And what you want to do is do a drop down and move to advanced. So once you move to advanced, you're going to have this screen pop up with all these different tabs as well. It's definitely more of a deep dive into how the system is running. And so some things that we could take care of here that's going to help out. Obviously, we have this tab here for encoder, right? And your encoder is most likely going to be set at x264. And what that means is that your encoding is being run through your CPU. And so at least the output is being placed through your CPU, right? And so what we want to do is switch it to our actual graphics card, right? So we want to go from our x264 to either our H264, or there's different options as well too, depending upon what you have internally as hardware within your computer. But switch it over to that secondary option, because then that means from an encoder perspective, you got to run the encoding through your graphics card or your graphics unit as opposed to your CPU. The benefit here is you're starting to share bandwidth across different components within your computer, which would ultimately help the speed and ultimately the quality of the output that you're having. A secondary piece that I recommend doing as well too, if you're having encoding issues, is down here on your quality preset. It should be set at balance for you. For me, I toggled it to quality, and you can actually hover over it and it'll give you like an idea, right? So speed has the highest speed and worst quality. Quality has the highest quality and worst speed, and balance is a mixture of the two. Okay, and another thing that really helped from like encoding and rendering as well is our video resolution, our output, and our base resolution, as you can see here on the top. I also toggled my FPS as well too, down to 48 from 60. But I'll kind of talk to you a little bit about the base canvas as well as the output scaled resolution. There's a mismatch in the two. I intentionally put that together, and I'm going to walk through a little bit of why that's detrimental to what you're trying to do as opposed to being a benefit, right? And so if we look at our base canvas resolution, it's set at 1920 by 1080. And if we look at our output scaled resolution, that's 1600 by 900. And what our output scaled resolution means is what am I going to show the viewer in terms of quality of picture performance. And so as a viewer, you're going to see it at 1600 by 900, right? And the way I'm going to stream it and box it up for the user is at 1920 by 1080, right? And when we think about what the output scale and what we think about the base canvas is, right? Like our output scale is how are we going to show the end result to our user from the package that is sent from the encoding, right? And our encoding is like our base canvas, right? So for our base canvas, we're doing 1920 by 1080. So when we encode, we're encoding at 1920 by 1080. Our output, which is like our rendering, is now going to take that 1920 by 1080 and perform that function at 1600 by 900 when it deploys its product from the encode, right? Now the problem there, if you're not picking up on it already, is you're now doing extra work between the encoding and rendering because you're taking a product that was built at 1920 by 1080, breaking it into a box for the user, and then that box, when it's undone, is now being put back together at 1600 by 900. And so if we don't generate parity between the display resolutions, it's additional work for your computer. And so I highly recommend that as you go through and identify what your resolution should be, make sure your base canvas and your output scaled are the same numbers to reduce additional effort needing to be done by your computer for your streaming output. Okay, and lastly, like probably the most important thing is how do we test it, right? Like, so before we go into our next stream, how do we know that we've done some of the right things to improve our stream? And how do we validate that at least going into the next stream, we're going to have a better product for our users, right? And so what we'll do in our settings is we'll go to stream, enable the bandwidth test mode, and we're going to apply that. Press OK. And now what we're going to do is, for me, I'm going to turn my video back on. Hello. And then now with the video on, a couple things that we want to do is we are going to start streaming. It's not going to actually be a real stream for you. This is how we test how the stream is working. And then what we're going to do is we're going to hit a bunch of different overlays stingers, things of that nature. We're gonna actually do some stingers. See, I'm all over the place now, so I am throwing stuff everywhere. Right, and I can move back, I can move forth, I can move up, I can wave my hands in the air, right? Like everything is smooth. We haven't dropped any frames here. So for me, I now have a good sense that as I move into my next stream, like I'm not going to drop any frames. Okay, kind of transitioning from that last piece around testing out your stream. Just wanted to kind of review the things we went through. We went through like how to set up OBS to understand where your issues lie, what those different issue codes mean, and then ultimately like what are common resolutions to fix them, and then how do we test that those fixes actually work. As you can see, I actually learned how to use my ring light as well too during the stream. What's up? This is what my face looks like. But no, really appreciate everybody coming by. Hopefully you got some value out of it. I'm still working on how to make YouTube videos, so if you have any comments about what I could do better next time, obviously the lighting is one. Please let me know in the comments. What do you want to see on the next video? Put that in the comments as well. I think one thing I'm definitely trying to provide content that you want and not just provide content just for content's sake. I'm also going to drop my Discord and my Twitch account into the description below. Would appreciate any support that you can that you'd provide. So if you want to friend me on Twitch, let's have a conversation of what you think of the video and what I can do better next. And then also if you want to drop by the Discord, trying to build a wholesome community of small streamers to see like how can we better support each other and grow as a community. And obviously build like a family within there. So would really appreciate any support that you can give, but ultimately hopefully this provides value for you. And anything I can do better next time, leave in the comments below and I'll be sure to address it next time. So with that being said, take care and have a good night.